Just when we think the Raptors have lost in every way possible, they find a different way. They lose 106-104 to the Boston Celtics at Scotiabank Arena. And have now lost 3 straight games and are now 20-27 on the season. No Fred VanVleet for the Raptors today. No Jason Tatum for the Boston Celtics. And they lose Marcus Smart midway through the game. The Raptors lose OG Anunoby 20 minutes into the contest. Or 20 minutes into his part of the contest. But that's not the issue. The issue is the glaring one we saw yesterday, or last game, where you scored 27 in the first quarter, 30 in the second, 28 in the third. The offense is doing okay. And then you can't crack 20 in the fourth quarter. Because everyone's exhausted. Because your bench was abysmal. However, that is not the issue here. And I'm going to break down a play. Shout out my guy Will Liu. Again, I obviously listen to the podcast all the time and saw him breaking down that play with Nick Nurse. Where is that here? Yeah, so with under, what do we got here? Let me check this out. 20 seconds to go, right? Raptors, Gary Trent Jr. blows a wide open layup to tie it. They get the rebound, Peyton Pritchard. Then turns the ball over, right? Gary intercepts the pass. And you're like, okay, you have a chance to tie it. There are guys just getting back, just getting up. You got, what is that? Is that Jaylen Brown? Basically by the Raptors 3-point line. The ball's at half court, so he's way behind. Al Horford's trying to pick up Gary right on him at midcourt. And Nick Nurse calls a timeout. Why is there a timeout being called? I mean, you have numbers. There's lots of time on the clock. You have the ball. They're trying to scramble back. You have a guy on your 3-point line, and you're at midcourt already. You already have numbers. And Nick Nurse calls a timeout. And then, some crazy nonsense happens near the end. Pascal turns it over right at the end of the game to possibly win it if he chucks up a 3 or gets a 2 to tie it, but turns it over instead. And they lose 106-104. I don't want to say they're turning to the Leafs, but what I've always said with the Leafs is they can't just lose a game. They can't just lose a game by 15. They can't just lose a game by 10 and be trailing all game long. It's got to be like this. It's got to be like that Milwaukee game that we had where no one could score. And they didn't have Marcus Smart or Jason Tatum. And people are going to say, well, we didn't have OG and Fred. All right, you can't compare the two. I'm sorry. Love OG's D. Love Fred. Love what he's done recently. But Jason Tatum's in the MVP talk right now. It's not close. There's so many ways you could look at this game. You could look at Nick Nurse for his, and then calling a timeout and trying to challenge a play that can't be challenged. He's got to know this, man. He's got to know this stuff. Multiple issues down the stretch. But the big thing you want to look at is the reliability of the bench today. With no Fred, and we're still not seeing Christian Koloko, Precious Achiuwa gets the start. Now, he has been great recently, and he had a good game. Nothing to take away from Precious at all. But taking him off of that bench makes them basically unplayable. Let me read you the minutes of the starters today, okay? Precious played 37. 37 for Precious Achiuwa. OG played 20. Well, he left the game with an injury and didn't return, an ankle injury. Great. Scotty played 42, and if you watched him, the dude was exhausted. And rightfully so. You only sat for 6 minutes of the game. Pascal played 43. He sat for 5 minutes. Gary played for 38. And the reason why, and I'm not going to fault Nick Nurse for that, because when you look at what the bench gave you, was nothing. Your top scorer, heck, they combined for 14 points. Chris Boucher had 6, and Thad Young had 8. Shout out Thad, 4 or 6 from the field. Good for him. Had a couple steals. But in 23 minutes for Thad Young, he was a minus 12. For 19 minutes of Chris Boucher, he was a minus 18. Juancho was out there for 9 minutes. He was a minus 9. And Malachi Flynn was out there for 5 minutes and was a minus 11. Meanwhile, your starters. Precious was plus 13. OG before he left, plus 9. Scotty Barnes, plus 1. Pascal, plus 10. Gary, plus 7. You lost by 2. Your bench was unplayable. I mean, how many times do you have to see this story written? How your starters ball out. Your bench is terrible. You try to grab minutes from them, but they don't do anything good for you. So you got to take them out quick because you're watching the game crumble away. Your starters bring you back in the game. And then you watch in the fourth quarter, the team has no legs offensively because they're dead on their feet. It happened a couple games ago, or last game, and it happened again today. I'll quickly break down the scoring numbers. Raptors led by 1 at the end of the first quarter, 27-26. But I think they ended the quarter on an 11-2 run or something like that. After Boston took an early lead in the second quarter, Raptors bounced back and put a really good performance in the second half of the second quarter and won the quarter, 30-24. And the Raptors were up by, up by 7 at halftime. Good stuff. In the third quarter, even, it wasn't terrible, right? You were minus 3, 31-28. You're still up by 4 heading into the fourth. It's closing time. What are you going to get? Well, as we talked about, the Raptors only scored 19 in the game. They only allowed 25, but it was the minus 6 differential was too little too late. I'll quickly run through the player numbers because I want to get to these team stats again. Precious, 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists for Precious. Shot 7 of 15 from the field, 2 of 2 from the line, 1 of 3 from distance. Had 2 steals and 2 blocks and was a plus 13. Precious did a phenomenal job against Robert Williams, who ended the game only playing 15 minutes and had 2 points, 4 rebounds. Oh, actually, he left the game. He actually left the game after 15 minutes. So there you go. So they lost Robert Williams as well. They lost Marcus Smart, and they didn't have Jason Tatum, and you still found a way to lose. OG, well, it's hard to go off of his numbers, but it's unfortunate because he was 12 points, 3 rebounds on 5 of 7 shooting, and 2 of 2 from 3, and a plus 9 in 20 minutes. But he got injured and left the game with an ankle injury, so that's not fun at all. Scotty Barnes, a very odd one for me. Ends the game with 10 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Shot 4 of 9 from the field and 2 of 2 from 3. Scotty took 3 shots in the second half. Didn't get any points. Missed all 3 shots. Was he that exhausted? It seems like it. He had 3 blocks as well. But 10, 3, and 5 on 4 of 9 shooting. I think it was like 4 of 6 to start the game. And I'm like, Scotty, what happened, buddy? So I'm not really sure what's going on there. Pascal did a phenomenal job tonight. The talk recently has been his inefficiencies and not being able to make the impact and really having trouble on the offensive end, really trying to force getting to the free throw line. Today, still didn't get to the free throw line very much, which is incredible. Gary Trent Jr. got there more than him. Enough said. 29 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists for Pascal. Shot 14 of 23, 1 of 2 from the line, and missed all 4 threes, but did turn the ball over 6 times, including the big one in the big moment in the dying seconds of the game. I mean, he was a plus 10 while he was on the floor. Gary Trent, 22, 5, and 3. Again, you look at the two guys in this game who are pretty much the most efficient guys in your squad, in Gary and Pascal. What were the common denominators in the final minute of this game? They botched big plays. Gary, the wide open, literally as wide open as can be to tie the game at 106. Butchers it. Now, he does get the steal to turn it over, and leading to a Nick Nurse timeout, but then Pascal, with like 3 seconds left, inbound, gets the ball inbound to him, and he turns it over. So even when they were good, they were tough in big situations. Gary had 22, 5, and 3 on 9 of 17 shooting, 2 of 3 from the line, 2 of 6 from 3, had 3 steals and 2 blocks, and was a plus 7. You love the numbers. It's just in the big moments. I didn't write down anything else for the bench guys except for how abysmal their plus minuses were because it was just so glaring. But let's get to these team stats because I think it was wild. Absolutely wild. So, let's do some math, shall we? The Boston Celtics took 1 less shot than the Raptors. We took 1 more attempt than the Boston Celtics, okay? They took 35 threes to the Raptors, somehow, 19 threes. They shot 45% from the field. We shot 54% from the field. They shot 46% from 3. Raptors only shot 37% from beyond the arc. They were minus 9 in 3 points made. That's a minus 28-point differential. It's pretty big. But then I get to this, and I had to wipe my eyes a couple times to figure this out. You always know, where do the fouls occur, right? They occur inside the paint, right? And paint are not 3-point field goals, correct? Right. They took 35 threes to the Raptors' 19, and we took 1 more field goal attempt than they did. So what does that tell you? Well, the Raptors were in the paint a ton, where there was contact all over the place. You know how many free throws the Raptors got as a team today? 7! As a team! I mean, I guess the Celtics were playing perfect defense. They had 15 free throw attempts. Over double the Raptors. Yet we took 1 more shot and almost double the less threes or something like that? A few more threes from the Celtics and it would have been double? That just doesn't make any sense to me in itself. But whatever. You can't try and blame the officials. You got dominated on the offensive glass, 11-6, right? And with no Christian Coloco out there for some reason, and I don't know. Second chance points, Raptors usually win that one. You got doubled up 12-6. And it just keeps getting harder and harder and harder to watch this team play. Nick Nurse botching stuff. Loved Scotty. The last 4 or 5 games been outstanding. Not sure where he went offensively in the second half. And the big moments late, your offense couldn't get it done for you. Again, they were exhausted. But it's the simple plays, like not turning the ball over and at least getting a shot up for Pascal, and Gary not missing a wide open layup. Next up for the Toronto Raptors. Yeah, they play it back-to-back. We got to watch one tomorrow too. As they host the New York Knicks at Scotiabank Arena. Time is it 6 o'clock? I think it's a 6 o'clock tip-off tomorrow evening before they head out west. And you want me to read that West Coast trip to you guys? Because listen, this team is 7 games under 500. Okay? They're not good. We've succumbed to the fact they are not good. We know that. So let's see what Masai and Bobby do. I mean, so after the Knicks game, you go to Sacramento. They've been phenomenal. How many have they won in a row now? 6 straight. They're buzzing. Golden State in Golden State, great. And then you got Portland in Portland, which is never an easy game, even though they're not a very good team. Phoenix at Phoenix, which Phoenix has been abysmal recently, but again, you're on the road, and the time zone change. You got Utah in Utah, Houston in Houston, Memphis in Memphis. Where are we looking at the schedule and thinking there are wins there? Sure, maybe Houston, maybe, but in the end, you shouldn't be looking at 1 or 2 games as wins. I'm very intrigued to see what Masai and Bobby do. But I think we're all getting to the point where we're sick and tired of watching this product. I hate to be upfront and stern about it. Oh my gosh, 15 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. You know what? That is going to do it for this one. I'm done. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow about the same thing anyways. Hopefully a positive thing. I don't know. Smack the like button if you guys enjoyed this one. Hit the subscribe button. You guys not already. Comment down below your thoughts on the video, thoughts on the game. Would you like, would you not like from the game for the Toronto Raptors? The Twitter and Instagram links are down in the description, so follow up, send me a DM to that great stuff. Discord link is down below as well, so if you want to vent about this game, go do so. And I'll talk to you guys Leafs edition on Monday night as they host the New York Islanders at Scotiabank Arena, 7 o'clock puck drop there. And as for the Toronto Raptors, as we said, they're back in action tomorrow night as they host the New York Knicks at Scotiabank Arena, 6 p.m. tip-off there. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and not this game today. We'll talk to you guys then.